Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are and whatever you're doing in the world. I hope you're well. This is GazX and my live stream. If you haven't seen it before, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you carry on watching. I hope you give me a thumbs up. I hope you give me a subscription or subscribe or whatever it is that you do. I need more of them. I need a lot more of them. So if you could do that, if you enjoy it, I'd appreciate it. So what have we got in store for you today? Well, it's a hot one. It's a very hot one, isn't it? I'm sitting here, I'm very warm, and I got these lights on me as well, so it's getting even warmer, to be fair. But it won't last, so don't panic. It's not the end of the world. It's not the climate change. Of course the climate changes. That's why they don't call it global warming anymore, because it was getting colder. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, don't worry. Enjoy the sunshine while it lasts. We're not very used to it in this country. When I lived in Spain, it was quite typical. Every day would be like this. It was quite normal. They were just more geared up for that sort of weather, where we're not. Anyway, so don't panic. Just enjoy it, because it won't last. Next week it'll probably be rainy and 17 degrees again. So, too many laughs. Too many laughs, and it goes on a bit long, don't it? But it doesn't matter. I enjoy what I'm doing. This is my hobby. This is not a business. This is just me and my little hobby, which I enjoy. Beth Gish is here, everybody. Yes, the beautiful, wonderful Beth Gish is here. Good to see you, Beth. I hope you're having a lovely, hot, sweaty day like the rest of us. Anyway, where are we going to kick off then? Well, what did I predict? What did I tell you when the UK local elections were done and Labour took an absolute hammering? And what did I tell you? What did I say? He won't resign, and they won't get him out, and he won't go anywhere. Why? Because the people that control him want him in power. That's exactly why. That's, in my opinion, definitely why. But he's still there, isn't he? And I got a little article on it, just to have a little look, you know what I mean? See what they're saying. And we've got here, right, Keir Starmer insists our plan is working and says he will keep pushing forward. Brilliant. Wonderful. Keir Starmer's there. He's not going anywhere. I said all he's got to do is weather the storm for 2 weeks. And that's all he's got to do. If he can weather the storm for 2 weeks, he'll get through it, and then the news will change, and it'll be something else, and it won't be so much on that, unless another scandal occurs, which is highly likely, to be fair. So, what have we got? Starmer has sought to highlight his own record. The Prime Minister has defended his government's plan as he battles to remain in his position. Sir Keir Starmer, sir. What's that about? Well, we know what that's about. Sir Jimmy Savile? Do you remember that? Who's in the Epstein files, mate?
Everyone!
Oh, yeah, that's who. Everyone. You know what I mean? And maybe one day I'll do a stream. I don't know if YouTube's the place for that. I just don't, with all the things that came out. And loads didn't come out in those Epstein files. There's about 3 million odd files, and a lot that did was all redacted as well. Very peculiar. Not peculiar, just demonic. Anyway, the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, said efforts to cut costs, reduce net migration and boost growth showed our plan is working. Too many laughs. Mate, I already asked that question. No need to go over it. Oh, God. Anyway. Sir Keir, who has insisted he will not walk away from number 10 if Andy Burnham wins the Macclesfield by-election, which I do think he will do. I do think Andy Burnham will win it, right? I think reform... it's going to be... with that, in Macclesfield, all I'm interested to see is how Restore Britain does. That's what I'm majorly interested in, Restore Britain. And I'll be focusing more on that nearer the time. And we'll do no doubt there'll be live after live about that, because I am really interested to see what happens there. Right, where are we? Andy Burnham wins in Macclesfield by-election, triggering a leadership contest, has sought to highlight his own record. The Prime Minister said, "We now have the fastest growing economy in the G7. Net migration has fallen." How many people come on the boats the other day? Was it 300? 200? How many more? How many more are coming in today? How many came in yesterday, the day before that? How many are still here? How much is it costing every day for housing? Over 10 million, isn't it, a day? Something like that. Just to house them. That's without anything else. That's without anything else. No medical, no education, no taxes, no phones, no spending money. None of that. Just to house them. Over 10 million a day. You happy with that with your tax money? Are you happy with that? Let me know in the comments. Let me know. And NHS waiting. Two shies here, everybody. I think an awful lot of people will be sat in a pub garden somewhere at the minute because it's just beautiful, isn't it? It's just beautiful, really. It's too beautiful to be watching me on YouTube, that's for sure. We now have the fastest growing economy in the G7. Net migration has fallen and the NHS waiting lists are at their lowest level in 3.5 years. Our plan is working. And as summer begins, we are going further to bring down the cost of living and make life easier for families. They never go into detail. Do you notice that? They just talk it, but they never go into detail. So they have more room to enjoy it. Yeah, of course. Did you see what they did? They cut some sort of VAT on theme parks and going out if kids eat in a restaurant. Nothing. It's irrelevant. Madness. Right. Cost of life easier for families, so they have more room to enjoy it. This government will keep pushing forward to deliver the change the country voted for. That's what they got. Is that why you got such a kick in the in the local elections? Because everybody's so happy with what you're doing. Office for National Statistics figures showed the economy grew by a higher than expected 0.6% over the first quarter. Between January and March, figures this week were shown UK net migration dropped to an estimated 171,000 last year, the lowest level since the start of the coronavirus pandemic. Yeah, that one. Oh dear. It comes as Sir Keir's position as Labour leader hangs in the balance. He'll get through it. The World Economic Forum and all them at Davos, they want Keir Starmer there. He's the man for their job. And the little hats. Don't never ever forget the little hats, all right? You know what I mean?
The Führer couldn't have said it better himself.
I know, mate. I know. This does me no good for the algorithm, but there you go. It's my hobby. I don't care. Scores of Labour and... hang on. Labour leader hangs about as a Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham seeking a return to Parliament in the Makerfield by-election, and former Health Secretary Wes Streeting outlining an alternative policy platform. Scores of Labour MPs have called for the Prime Minister to stand down in the wake of an electoral hammering earlier this month across English councils, Wales and Scotland. But he still won't go. It doesn't matter what they say. Burnham launched his Makerfield campaign on Friday saying, "A vote for me in this by-election is a vote to change Labour." Right? So do people want to change Labour, or they just want to never see them again, like the Conservatives? We just never want to see any of them again. That's why if you vote Reform, all you're doing is voting for a load of failed Tories, really. It's pretty obvious. You know what I mean? It is pretty obvious if you look at it. I mean, and in my opinion, old Farage, he's not shilling, is he? No, of course he's not. He's not a controlled opposition, is he? Of course he's not. What? Who would believe such a thing? Mr. Streeting has set out policies including a wealth tax to bring back the new Labour era. A wealth tax. So you're going to get more wealthy people to leave this country. We need wealthy people. My mother told me, right, we were poor as poor. And my mother used to say to me, she used to say, "Gaz, you got to have rich people. Because if you ain't got rich people, Who do the poor people work for? Think about it. Mr. Street in the policies, wealth tax era, Sure Start programme and planning reforms to fund council homes to prevent children growing up in temporary accommodation. Mate, this should be done. This should have been done years ago. You should have been fighting for this years ago. This should be. You're all these politicians, in my opinion, they just talk a good fight, and as soon as they get in there, they do whatever they want. Well, they don't do what they want. They do what they're told to, but not by us. Clearly. Despite Sir Keir's claims of success, both Mr. Burnham and Mr. Streeting have criticised the government's inability to deliver the change voters demanded in the 2024 landslide which swept Labour into power. Nobody voted. Hardly anybody go. Nobody votes anymore. I don't vote anymore. What's the point in voting? If voting did anything, they wouldn't let you do it. Mr. Streeting promised to revive Sure Start with the £1 billion funding currently allocated to the government's Best Start initiative increased by a further £1.7 billion under his plan. They just pull these numbers out of the air, don't they? The debt we got, they don't. It's just, it literally is make-believe. It really is. He said, the biggest thing that I think is broken in this country at the moment is that, for the first time in modern history, the prospects for the next generation are worse than the last. Well, I can't say that's not true. Restoring Sure Start would prove that this Labour government is absolutely committed to building a better future for the next generation. No. Stop immigration. Deport loads of people who shouldn't be here and criminals, right? Stop paying these other countries all this money that we pay them for whatever we give like Pakistan, I don't know, loads of money. Stop giving all this aid to other countries and start putting it into this country where we really need it. Why don't you start thinking about doing that for a little while, just till we get our house in order, until we're getting people sorted out. But they won't do it. It's just nonsense. His proposal to end temporary accommodation for children would see planning reforms to allow councils to benefit from the uplift in land value from development in order to fund homes and services. Councils that fail to deliver could be stripped of decision-making powers. It's like a dictatorship then. I took on failing NHS trusts. I will take on failing councils. Every child deserves a home to call their own and have a fair chance to make the most of it, Mr. Streeting said. Always go for the children. Always go for the children. Nice sweet spot. Do you know what I mean? Always go for them. Because they're great, aren't they? You can, I'm going to do everything for the children, give them a better start. Of course you are. Of course you are. Nonsense. Absolute ridiculous. So what else have we got for you? To prove the point, right, they seem to think, well, Starmer seems to think it's all going so very well at the moment. But in my opinion, it isn't going well at all, right? And this sort of sums it up. I looked at this today on the BBC News. I live in survival mode. The rise of the multi-job workforce. Yes, people can't cope. Everything's going up. All right, you could say, right, it's not the government's necessarily, it's the government's fault, right? Because like the war in Iran, all that type of thing, the Strait of Hormuz is closed, so the oil prices has gone up. Other things are going to go up because of that, obviously, and all that sort of situation. But I argue this, right? One, we should be energy independent anyway. We shouldn't have to rely on other countries. This is a failure across the board for many, many years, in my eyes, by design. Right? We shouldn't have to rely on other countries for energy when we've got loads of it. But net zero. See, that's another thing that's costing loads of money for us on our bills and on factories and on everybody because of we have to pay such high energy prices. You can only blame governments for that. You can't. We should be energy efficient, right? So okay, they didn't build the nuclear power stations in the early 20s, so we'd be like really energy efficient now and independent. No, they didn't do any of that. No, of course they didn't. They built HS2, right, and which is still isn't done. This is going over budget beyond to save 15 minutes off a train journey. Are you what? You what?
What?
Yeah. unreal. Maybe we'll get into that tomorrow. We'll have to have a look. I might have to have a look into that, see how that's going, that HS2 nonsense. So then you've got... So the other thing they could do, absolutely 100%, is they could cut fuel duty. Apparently, it's something like 70% fuel duty. Just fuel duty, 70%. Well, just take it down to 20. They don't do that, do they? Why not? Well, there's other reasons why they don't do that. Because they spend our money in ways that we really shouldn't be spending our money. Anyway, we'll get into this little article. More than 1 million people in the UK now have a second job as rising costs, insecure work and industry changes push workers into a growing gig economy. Billie Jo Pearce says she's living in survival mode, juggling multiple jobs to stay afloat in Bristol, the UK's second most expensive city. She is one of a growing number of people who have taken on an extra paid role to combat the cost of living crisis and build financial security and flexibility. So this is Labour at work, isn't it? This is Labour at work. She shouldn't be having to do this. Pearce, 29, and originally from Birmingham, says she loves her work but admits that the burnout is real. She works 50 to 60 hours a week. I think that's pretty average now for everybody, 60 hours. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you are working like normal hours or if you're having to work loads or other jobs. I'd be fascinated to see that. Originally from Birmingham, says she loves her work. Right. She works 50 to 60 hours a week running a business, decorating customers' teeth. Okay. Is there a call for that? Okay, obviously, maybe. I don't know. Decorating their teeth. Okay. With cosmetic gems. Okay. It's not my business model. It's not the sort of business I would go down that route. I can't, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. While taking on reception shifts, bar work, festival jobs, and selling clothes online. Part of a rat race. Data from the Office of National Statistics shows roughly 1.3 million people in the UK currently have a second job, a slight decline compared to the record high of 1.35 million people recorded in 2025. Pearce's entrepreneurial journey began while studying interior design at university. So she did interior design and now she's sticking gems on your teeth. Fascinating. And Andrea is here, everybody! Yay! It's a hot one, Andrea. It's a hot one. I hope you're keeping cool in this heat and you're all good and content. Despite graduating with a first-class degree, she's got a first-class degree. She struggled to find work in the industry and took a 9-to-5 gaming job while building her business on the side. I'd finish work at like 5-6 p.m. and then go straight into my own business and stay there till like 11 p.m. I was working way too much. I had no social life. I felt like I was part of a massive rat race that I wasn't going to win in. It's pretty standard if you ask me. I was working so hard, but I wasn't saving and I wasn't really living. After being made redundant last year, she decided to focus on her business full time, but rising costs and Bristol's high living expenses made it difficult to survive on one income. Research suggests material costs in the beauty industry have risen by more than 90% over the past decade. Pearce now lives in a van, so she lives in a van, to cut expenses and work several jobs to support her business. This ain't sustainable for young people at all, is it? It's not sustainable for anyone to carry on like this. And it's only going to get worse, in my opinion. Despite this, she says she still worries constantly about money. Work is a lot, and I still feel like I'm not earning a good monthly wage to ever get close to owning a house, she says. You got no chance. I feel like it's quite the norm at the moment to work multiple jobs. There's definitely something wrong with what's going on at the moment. How is this going to change? How is you tell me how any government is going to... It's going to have to get really radical to sort this lot out, I'm telling you. The UK unemployment rate recently increased to 5%, while I thought Starmer was doing it. I thought Starmer said he was doing it all. He was sorting it. while the number of job vacancies has fallen to its lowest level in 5 years. Of course, national insurance increases. I've got a business, right? Fortunately, touch wood, thank you God. It's lifting itself up, right? And we're doing a little bit. And then I've got another business which is potentially on the cusp of great things, right? But that's still good. But when it comes, so if my other business, and I've got another business I'm working on at the moment, but if my second business, not the one I've been doing for a long time, but the second one I'm doing with these luxury products, right? If I end up, which I will end up making really successful, then I'm going to have to start employing people. And then I'll be able to tell you just exactly the nightmare that is and how horrible it is because of the costs involved and all the legislation and everything that's involved. But we'll get into that when the time comes. It's going to be, but that's going to put me off employing people. That is going to make me think about what I'm doing once I get to that stage with that business. I'm going to be thinking, do I really need? I mean, I need to expand, but you know, what are the implications of all this? Is it going to cost me in the long run? It's difficult. At the same time, the gig economy, freelance or contract work, rather than permanent employment, has grown significantly. Employers don't want to employ. They just don't want to employ. Just under 5 million people now take part in gig work, such as food delivery, freelance design, cleaning, dog walking, or selling clothes online, although only a fifth rely on it as their primary income. When unemployment rises, more people turn to gig work. People are going to have to really adjust, especially with the AI. You know, they're going to have to really adjust to keep up, to stay, to have any chance at all, in my opinion, going forward. For many, especially young workers, relying on one employer no longer feels secure because it's not. AI eradicated demand for my work, right? Here it comes. Engi Elberini, a freelance graphic designer from Bristol, says she's had to diversify her work as the industry changes. She said, "The last 2 years have been my worst trading years. I've noticed that within the digital design industry, tools like AI and Canva being so accessible to my client base means that they end up doing a lot of the work themselves." Then you've got to provide a better offering. You've got to be better. Even though those things are there, you've got to prove, you've got to demonstrate that you can actually be better. Even though, AI can do it. See, that's it. Can you be better than AI? When you've got Canva, when you put Canva and AI together, if you're not aware of those, look into it. But there are going to be winners and there's going to be losers in this AI thing. There absolutely is going to be winners and losers. And I'm developing another business that will help you if you're looking at getting into an AI business. But we should get into that. Press subscribe, the follow, whatever it is on YouTube. It doesn't cost you anything. And then keep up to date with me because you might find it useful. So the other thing that I'm building, and it might actually help you in the future. It should do because that's what I'm designing it for. I've noticed that within the digital design industry, accessible to my client. After more than a decade in design, the 35-year-old says AI has eradicated much of the demand for traditional design work. If she's been in that game for 10 years, surely she should have seen this coming. Surely she should have seen this coming. Alongside freelance projects, she now works in a creative production and coordination roles and is retraining in events management. She's retraining. Events management. Me personally, she should be training in logistical management. Something like logistics, because logistical management is warehouses, transport. Events is very niche. That's a bit niche for me. If I was that level and I was retraining, I would go for logistical and learn the latest technology for logistical management, because I think there'll be a very high demand for that. Definitely. Whenever there is scarcity, as humans, we find solutions, she said. Especially if you're creative, you'll always find solutions. Still, financial pressure has forced her to cut back on luxuries such as holidays and festival tickets. Is this the lifestyle that I want to live? No, but being in Bristol is fun, and being embedded in creative circles is more than fulfilling. We don't pay the rent though, does it? For others, the move into multiple jobs is driven by personal circumstances as well as finances. Holly from Bristol became a single mother and needed flexible work to support her son Max as she survives on a single income. Through a recommendation, she began working as a life model. It's not really work, is it? Could you call that work? Taking your clothes off and letting people draw you? Is that work? Is that work? Okay. It wasn't something that I ever planned, but when you're in that position, you become open to things you might not have considered before, she said. The 41-year-old, who also works part-time legal assistant and occasionally as a TV extra, says the work allows her to fit employment around school hours. It came out of necessity. I'd rather take my clothes off and stand in a room full of artists, artists, yeah, right, than work a minimum wage job where I'm rushed off my feet and can't make ends meet and miss the time with my son, she said. You've got to do what you got to do. She says the work has helped, 20 quid's 20 quid at the end of the day. She says the work has helped her overcome feelings of vulnerability. We can't be more vulnerable than standing in a room full of people and you're the only one with your bits hanging out. I'm worried a lot of the time about money or about my son, but I don't feel that fear naked in a room full of strangers, she said. Well, no, I don't suppose you are. You've probably got other things on your mind. Like many gig workers, she says the lack of long-term security creates constant pressure. I'm always thinking about the next bill, the next job, even though work is coming through, there's no real security, she said. Despite the instability, she believes changing economic realities are reshaping attitudes towards work and what people are willing to do to get by. You've got to start working it out for yourself. You've literally got to start working it out and get yourself earning your own money under your own terms. I am building something that will help that. It will definitely help that because that's what I'm building. That's my next business. Yeah, there's a couple of quid involved. Marie Walker is here, everyone. Good to see you, Marie. Good to see you. So what have we got next? What's going on? Now, we're going to go back to Starmer and the state of this country. I don't know what's happening. I couldn't believe this story when I heard it. It's absolutely horrendous, right? Now, do you remember when George Floyd, a man who lives thousands of miles away, apparently the police leant on his neck and he said, I can't breathe, right? And you know all the story behind it, right? It depends what side of the fence you're on, if you're on the left or the right or whatever. But apparently, or whether it was real or not, that's another thing, right? I don't know. Don't ask me, I weren't there. But in this country, there was protest, right? It all kicked off, didn't it, over George Floyd, right? It was all over the media for ages. Do you remember it all? I'm sure you do, don't you? Well, are you aware of this? I can't breathe. Police handcuffed dying teen after attacker accused him of racism.
What?
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely true. I couldn't believe it. Henry Nowak. Have you heard of Henry Nowak? Was he all over the mainstream media? This is in England, by the way. This ain't over in Americano land. This all happened in England. Was you aware of it? Because it weren't all over the news. There weren't people protesting and marching and taking a knee. You didn't see. Where was Starmer? Where was the Cobra meetings? Where was all where was all the visiting the scene? Where was all this? Oh no, he's a little white kid, isn't he? You know what I mean? Big difference, isn't it? I can't breathe. These are not just the final words of George Floyd, the drug-impaired career criminal whose death the world was forced to watch on endless repeat for months. These are the final words of 18-year-old British student Henry Nowak after being stabbed 4 times and then handcuffed by the police because his immigrant attacker accused him of being racist.
What?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. On December the 3rd, 2025, in Southampton, Henry, a first-year student at the University of Southampton, was allegedly repeatedly stabbed by 23-year-old Indian migrant Vikram Digwa using a 21-centimetre ceremonial Sikh blade. Now, if you're outside of this country, you can have a little knife, right? Legal carry knives are called. It's about that big, the blade, and it has to be like a pocket knife folding. If you're a Sikh in this country, you can carry a big dagger thing because it's part of your religious thing. Well, to be honest, I should be able to carry a sword because I come from the age of the knights and horses and castles, and I should be able to carry a ceremonial sword to show my English heritage. But I won't be allowed to, will I? And I would if I could. Why wouldn't you? But these Sikhs, they can walk around all bladed up, right? And it's all legal. When police arrived at the scene, Digwa played the race card and accused his victim of using racially abusive words. Officers then handcuffed... He's been stabbed 4 times. Officers then handcuffed Henry despite his repeatedly telling officers that he had been stabbed. The police arrested him. I don't think you have, mate, a male voice on police body camera footage can be heard saying. He's telling them he's been stabbed, and one of the coppers is recorded saying, I don't think you have, mate. Didn't even check. It's unbelievable. What is going on in this country? The implication is that police accepted Digwa's claim that Henry was a racist, while dismissing Henry's repeated claims that he had been stabbed. In other words, police appeared to find it more believable and more contemptible that a white teenager was a racist than a victim, and that may be why it cost Henry his life. Officers reportedly only began administering first aid after he collapsed unconscious. Henry died at the scene, drowning in his own blood. It's horrendous. While the attack itself was not directly witnessed, neighbours nearby reportedly heard Henry crying out that he had been stabbed and was dying while attempting to escape his attacker by climbing over a fence. A blood trail shown in court suggested that there was a blood trail, and they still arrested him and handcuffed him. I don't think you've been stabbed, mate. There's a fucking blood trail. By climbing a fence, a blood shown suggested that Henry had already suffered a fatal injury. Prosecutors alleged Digwa then chose to aggressively pursue him. Rather than seeking medical help from the teen he allegedly stabbed 4 times, Digwa stole his phone and accused him of racism. The court heard Henry's phone was later found in Digwa's pocket. Digwa's mother was also allegedly filmed removing the knife from the scene and taking it back to the family home where the police later recovered it. Is she getting nicked? Chances are you haven't heard much about this story or anything at all, not unless you're on social media and someone brought it to your attention. The media has largely ignored it. Something we certainly know they would not do if the attacker were white and the victim brown. What's more, there's been no global protests, no state-funded memorials, no endless news cycles, and no international hashtag campaign against brown-on-white violence. And why is that? Because this case, like many similar stories, cuts directly against the narrative the media and the political establishment have been peddling for years. White man bad. As such, they're often adverse to presenting white people as victims and non-whites as aggressors. CNN stories on Henry Nowak, 0. CNN stories on George Floyd, 107. Media is the enemy of the people. These are people's on TikTok. Reuters story on Henry Nowak, 0. Reuters story on George Floyd, 1,087. Elon Musk put, right? Elon Musk put, this is so unjust. And this, he shared this tweet. 0 stories by AP, 0 stories by PBS, 0 stories by NYT, 0 stories by NPR, 0 stories by WSJ, 0 stories by CNN, and 0 stories by WAPO. In fact, it appears to be such a non-event that even the police officers who allegedly handcuffed the teen while he had bled to death are reportedly still employed with no arrest, charges, or identifiable consequences. Who's this? Habit. Oh, what? What? Hang on. I'll just call you Jaw. Jaw is here, everyone. Good to see you, Jaw. That'll do. Jaw's good enough for me. Right. Compare that with the aftermath of George Floyd's death in the United States. All 4 Minneapolis police officers involved were fired, prosecuted, and convicted in a state and federal courts. Derek Chauvin received 22.5 years on state charges and 21 years federally. Tu Teo received 4.75 years on state charges and 3.5 years federally. J. Alexander Kueg received 3.5 years on state charges and 3 years federally. Thomas Lane received 3 years on state charges and 2.5 years federally. So what's the difference? Henry Nowak wasn't a career criminal with a history. He was white. He was white, and a brown man accused him of saying something racist. Well, the silence over Henry's death has sparked growing anger online. Today, Elon Musk has drawn attention to the case with a series of posts on his social media platform X. That's why the establishment hate Elon Musk. There were massive international protests over George Floyd, and those police involved were severely punished with long prison sentences. Yet the police responsible here did not even lose their jobs. Musk wrote an incredibly unjust double standard. He also reposted another comment that claimed that the police acted out of racial prejudice against the white indigenous populations of Europe, responding simply, absolutely. To date, no officers' names have been publicly released, and there are no confirmed reports of suspensions, criminal charges, or disciplinary outcomes. Horrendous. Absolutely horrific. You know. His mother was involved as well, says Marie Walker. Absolutely correct. She took the knife, didn't she? She took the knife back to the house. You know, that's got to be a criminal offence in itself. Surely. And another reason people don't like Elon Musk, there's another reason. Many people have got many reasons, but this is a very big reason. Musk backs Restore Britain in Burnham by-election showdown. Yes, so Elon Musk has come out. Did I show you it on the screen? I think I did, didn't I? Yes, there it is. Elon Musk has thrown his weight behind Rupert Lowe's Restore Britain party ahead of the Makerfield by-election. On Sunday morning, the billionaire chief executive of Tesla posted his support for Rupert Lowe's Restore Britain party on X. The first poll of the by-election campaign showed Reform on 40%, just 3 points behind Labour's Andy Burnham on 43% in a knife-edge battle for the seat. However, the poll of 504 adults by Survation showed Restore Britain in third place on 7%, potentially scooping up votes that could secure the constituency for Nigel Farage's Reform. It means the division on the right could harm Reform's chances of victory and increase the risk of handing the seat to Mr Burnham, who is seen by many Labour supporters as a potential saviour to lift the party out of its electoral crisis. It don't matter. It doesn't matter if Andy Burnham the one thing Keir Starmer wants is for Andy Burnham not to get in. But this is all going to... It doesn't matter. It's a pantomime at the end of the day, right? Because if the powers that be want Andy Burnham to be Prime Minister, believe you me, he will be Prime Minister. There is no question about it. And it's not down to us at all. It's the powers beyond everyone. Those in the upper echelons that control it all, right? However, the poll, right, it means that, right here, it also likely to intensify the bitter rivalry between Mr. Lowe and Mr. Farage after their public falling out more than a year ago. On Sunday morning, Mr. Musk, who frequently comments on X about British political leaders, posted "Restore Britain" while retweeting a post by Mr. Lowe. The billionaire has previously supported Mr. Farage. Responding to Mr. Musk's intervention, Mr. Lowe said, "Elon Musk backing Restore Britain sends a clear message that real change is possible and the establishment is losing control. Makersfield will show Britain the way. We're not here to patch up a broken system. We're here to restore our country." We'll get into the more statistics in a minute. There's another poll on this, right? I think this is going to be very interesting. Very, very interesting. And I don't think it's a decision. I don't think it's a thing for Labour. I think this is more, is it reform or is it restore Britain? Because bearing in mind, Nigel Farage said that Rupert Lowe wouldn't get 1% of a vote in Yarmouth. And they got all 10 seats that were there. Restore Britain. They just smashed it. People want change in this country. People don't just want change in this country. People want radical change. And I think definitely, many people are prepared to go through some pain, real, to get the outcome that most of us really want, right? We all want to be prosperous. We all want a future for children. We all want to be able to achieve and to be able to buy a property. And it's not. We don't want to live in a society where it's so fragmented and it's so everybody's onto everybody. The gnawing of teeth, as it were. Maybe it is the end times. Maybe it is the end times. How would I know? We'll find out. Responding to Mr. Musk's intervention, Mr. Musk backed Restore Britain when it was launched last year by Mr. Lowe, stating on X, it will win, it must win to save Britain. Now, if that's the message you're getting from the most richest man in the world, people need to take notice. The guy's not an idiot, regardless of what people say. Right, there's a note here, footnote. The Salvation poll appears at odds with Restore's own feedback on the doorstep in Makersfield, with 24.6 supporting the party in a sample of 1,010 people. And I actually saw this email when it came out. Sod it. For the purposes of full transparency, here are our canvassing returns from the Makerfield that we've had back so far from the door knocking today. 1,010 people were sampled, right? 24.6% for Restore Britain. 31.2% definitely against. 24.2% undecided. And 20% considering. Excluding Rupert Lowe MP. Right, I don't know what that excluding bit is. I think it's going to be very interesting. That's going to be amazing to see going forward. Absolutely amazing. I mean, I'm really, really excited about it. Although it's only it's a puppet show. It's a puppet show. That's all it is. Right, now we come to a bit which I didn't actually put in the video, but it's just I think you should be aware, because again, just like the young lad that was stabbed up, there's been this has been a massive, this one, right? It's been a massive media cover-up. A blanket just ignoring it, right? And it's not just a small thing either. What it actually is, well, I'll read you what it is. This is incredible. This just shows you how they're all trying to manipulate us and steer us the way they want it all to go. Because I'm sure most of you aren't aware of this story. Russia warns of systematic strikes on military targets in Kiev. Why would they do that, you ask yourselves? Yeah, they are having a little war, but why are they going to start doing this? Well, I shall tell you. Moscow has urged foreigners to leave the Ukrainian capital and warned residents to stay away from military, industrial and government sites. Kiev's deadly attack on a college, now did you know that? Because you never saw, right? They sent out a load of drones, right? Actually, what I'll do, I'll interrupt it here, and how long have I got? Well, I'll read this through, and then I'll let George Galloway explain, because he's your man, right? Kiev's deadly attack on a college dorm in the Russian town of Starblisk last week was the last straw for Russia. Killed about 21 young people while they were sleeping. Non-military target. Horrendous. And you didn't see that. You didn't see anything when that happened. It wasn't on the BBC. It was nowhere. The BBC apparently was invited to go there, and other like Sky and stuff, and CNN. CNN apparently allegedly said they were on holiday, and the BBC just refused to go anyway. What? Why? Why would you do that?
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's horrendous. Supposed to be. I got a very bad feeling that NATO is. It's going to kick off with Russia. Me personally, I think we're actually going to see this in hot stuff, hot war with Europe. I can't see it not soon. It will be conducting systematic strikes on assorted targets across the Ukrainian capital from now on, the Foreign Ministry in Moscow has announced. The ministry made the statement on Monday, a day after a large-scale retaliatory strike on Kiev prompted by the drone attack on the college in the Lugansk People's Republic. The Ukrainian strike killed at least 21 people, young people, in their dormitory, many teenage girls. The Starblisk attack has become yet another testament to the Nazi and terrorist nature of the Kiev regime, which deliberately targets civilians and does not hesitate to murder children in cold blood.
The Führer couldn't have said it better himself.
The ministry said, warning that Moscow is shifting its approach to the Ukraine conflict. This was the last straw under these circumstances. The Russian armed forces will be launching systematic strikes against the Ukrainian military-industrial complex in Kiev, including locations where UAVs are designed, manufactured, programmed and prepared for use. The ministry said, adding that the campaign will also affect decision-making centres and command posts. The designated targets are spread all over Kiev, the ministry noted, urging foreign nationals, including diplomats and representatives of international organisations, to leave the Ukraine capital immediately. It also warned the city's residents to stay away from the military and administrative infrastructure facilities of the Zelensky regime. The Foreign Ministry issued a similar warning earlier this month when Russia threatened a large-scale strike on Kiev in response to its threats to attack the Victory Day celebrations in Moscow. An excavation notice was formally sent to all foreign missions and international organisations accredited in Russia, urging them to leave the Ukraine capital. The demand was openly snubbed by some Western nations, with German Foreign Minister Johann Wadful stating that Berlin would not be intimidated. You wait, mate. By it. A similar stance was communicated by the EU Commission. Bad news this. Which said it will not change our posture or presence in Kiev. The potential exchange in such strikes, however, never occurred as the warning sides ultimately managed to enter an uneasy truce amid the celebrations. Now, that was because they didn't attack. But what they've just done is crossed the red line. Now, the point is, you haven't seen this in the media. It was very brief, right? The only time you've seen it in the media is when the Russians then suddenly, and they fired the Oblitsk missile, the hypersonic missile. They've upped it. They've upped it, right? But I'll let George Galloway, because he's only a couple of minutes, but he is, this guy, George Galloway, mate, he is the ultimate. When he says it's the mother of all talk shows, which is on YouTube if you don't watch it, the mother of all talk shows with George Galloway. If you don't watch that, the guy's just amazing. This guy is absolutely amazing. Check this out.
Well, it may very well do, but I have to just tell you that I think this strike on the dormitory was extremely accurate. I think it was entirely deliberate. They deliberately targeted these children in this dormitory. It was a deliberate act of mass murder. It was therefore a war crime, a crime against humanity, and it must be prosecuted as such in time to come. So I don't think there was anything accidental. I think Palantir can, in his twisted, perverse way, consider it a job well done. You tried to murder all these children and you succeeded in doing so. So the issue of whose weapons are they? Well, we know who is supplying these weapons, and it would be entirely within Russia's rights to retaliate against those who are making these strikes into Russia possible. And they're now talking about missiles, a joint British-German missile. Little Macron is trying to get in on the act, which will penetrate far deeper into Russia. So it would be entirely within Russia's rights of self-defense to take action against the people who are making all of this possible. And who knows who did the targeting? My suspicion is obvious from the stance that I am taking. What I do know is that much of the striking of civilian and civilian infrastructure targets in Russia are being directed by foreign hands, NATO hands. NATO is up to its neck in the blood of these schoolgirls, in the blood of these students. Of that, I am absolutely certain.
This has major, this could, and again, when that attack took place, the BBC, there was nothing. I looked when I saw it, because I've got Telegram. If you haven't got the app Telegram, you should get the app Telegram and get involved in that. There's a lot of stuff you'll get on there, more than anywhere else. And there was no. I looked then at the media because I thought I actually thought to myself, they won't be saying none of this. The only time the media said anything is when Russia retaliated against it with a massive bombardment, which I'm not going to show you. But if you get the Telegram, because for the reasons, I'm not going to get involved in it. There was a reporter there, this Irish guy. I don't know much about this guy. There was just a brief. I thought I'd just show this to round this off. This bit.
Just going in the front door here. Can you imagine what happened here?
Sorry.
See,
Imagine,
apparently,
the horror of what happened here.
this was supposed to be a military target, but it's obviously not. And they were all in bed.
Unbelievable. And the power of this, look, buckling everything. The whole front of the building torn out, windows exploded, glass, debris.
Nothing on the BBC.
Absolutely.
The BBC were invited there. This guy's been invited. He's a press from somewhere, and he's gone there.
See the shrapnel that tore through this,
The BBC never went. Why not?
This is a terrorist attack. And it's a terrorist attack that will go unpunished. And it'll go unpunished because the fantasy in the EU, in Brussels, these dedicated Russophobes, the people who hate Russia more than they love their own countries.
The big thing is, right? We know that they want a war. Whoever they are, they want a war with Russia. They want a hot war, and they want the Yanks involved as well. I would like to. Apparently, Elon Musk in some of these things, they got a drone apparently, and apparently the Starlink was in it. Do you know what I mean? So Elon Musk needs to stop supplying the Starlink to the Ukraine. He needs to stop doing it. you know, because ultimately, if Russia suddenly decide they're going to preemptive strike, they will preemptive strike, and it could be any country that's helping support this, and that includes the UK. This is a very dangerous game these fools are playing. And what's the outcome? Look at Trump with Iran. What's the outcome? Where's the outcome? The Strait of Hormuz everything was working fine before the small hats, Israel, and the dog that was getting wagged by Israel, the tail, did the illegal attack while they were in negotiations. Iran's definitely won so far, no question. You know, but this is Russia. How much more are they going to take before they decide that's enough now? We're going to have to make an example. Is that going to come? I don't know. I'd be surprised if it didn't, to be perfectly honest.
That's what the problem is here. That they'll steal your money, they'll steal your taxes, and then they'll send them to Kiev, to the people who will do this. And this is absolutely no accident. You don't accidentally bomb 5 different buildings and kill a load of kids in their beds. That can't be an accident, okay? This is done on purpose. So they steal your taxes, they send it to Ukraine, most of it's stolen, the rest of it goes to buy drones for companies that British and Germans are getting lots of money from, and then they send them here to kill kids. That's the Ukro scam. That's what's really going on in this war. It's a fucking terrorist assault on ordinary people. You gotta really wake up and open your eyes to it.
It's amazing. I think this is going to... Out of everything I'm seeing at the moment, the one thing... I mean, there's a lot of things going on. But the one thing I think could potentially really go is the Russia. Because they're just overstepping now. Massively. And I don't think the Russians... I think if the Russian people demand it, Putin will act on it. And his military, they're ready for it. You know, they've just done a nuclear, like a training exercise for their nuclear stuff. When it all kicked off, right? I'm not on about 2014. That's a whole different story with the Ukraine. But when the Russians went in to the Donbass with their special military, it wasn't a full-scale invasion, right? Which the media keeps saying. It was a full-scale invasion. No, it wasn't a full-scale. They went into the Donbass. They had already said, stop shelling them, stop attacking the Donbass, right? Or else we're coming in. They'd already said it. Zelensky, right? He had a platform when he was elected on peace. That's how this is how they do it. And look at him as an individual. I mean, what can you say? Oh, he's a small hat, isn't he? He's a Jew, by the way. There you go. I mean, does it make any difference that he's the way he is? Bit like that. Probably. But the demonic people behind all this, they're just pushing for it, and they will get it in the end if they carry on like this. Russia will. There's been a lot of chatter in Russia behind the scenes, and they're some of the people who have got sort of, a bit of power there, are sort of saying we need to do a preemptive strike into Europe. Somewhere that's like producing these weapons or supplying the technology to demonstrate, to demonstrate this is enough now. This is it now. Who knows if they'll do it? There definitely is that sort of conversation being had. Anyway, if you made it this far through the video, thank you for staying with me. I'm sure I'm really appreciate you being here. If you did make it this far, if you could give me the thumbs up, if you could leave a comment just let me know that you made it this far. That'd be amazing to see. And if you could, if you're not following already, whatever it is, I think you subscribe. I don't like the term subscribe. It sounds like you've got to pay. You don't have to pay. They should do follow. They should do a follow button. You're just following somebody. You're not subscribing to them. What is wrong with YouTube? You know what I mean? Come on, YouTube AI, sort it out. Do a follow button. Do you know what I mean? Not a subscribe button. What's that about? Anyway, thank you for watching. That's the end of this one. I'll be back tomorrow. I hope you're nice and cool if you're in the UK or wherever you are. I hope it's cooling down for you now this time of the evening. I hope you're having a lovely time. If you're watching this at a later date, check out my other videos. You might be interested, you might not. But if you like this, you'll probably like them. But, you know, everybody's different. But thank you again. I haven't had Nexus on tonight. I didn't put Nexus on. I didn't feel the need for it. But another time, when we got something else, we'll bring Nexus back in. The AI. Why is he not flashing anymore? Why aren't you glowing? Yeah, come on, what are you doing? I thought we was going to have a bit of a...
Houston, we have a problem.
Do you know what I mean? But yeah, we're not going to bring Nexus in. We'll bring Nexus in another day when we've got more. Because it's got too many guardrails for some of these conversations, to be fair. Anyway, see you later, Nexus. Yeah, see you all later. I'm back tomorrow, 7 o'clock UK time, and for about an hour. So